This is a guide to the Toolkit Workbench Autotest Manager software and Autotest functionality within TKW. The Autotest software provides the ability to execute multiple tests consecutively against a system under test, and will provide a report of the results which can be navigated to display details of individual outcomes. The tools provided with test cases, which are defined within the Supplier Certified Requirements Coverage spreadsheet. The evidence of the execution of these test cases is required as part of the ITK accreditation process. The TKW Autotest software is an extension of TKW and requires the software to be present in order to function. Generally, TKW Autotest is used as a substitute for a client system when the system under test is operating as a host. Here we can see the Autotest can send synchronous messaging and receive synchronous responses acknowledgements over the same connection, and receive subsequent asynchronous responses and respond acknowledgements back to those to a system under test. However, it can also be used to transmit acknowledgements for CDA documents operating as a substitute for the host. The TKW Autotest can perform synchronous and asynchronous ITK messaging. It will record all the interactions. It validates all incoming messages and can rerun previously run test runs. TKW Autotest is installed as part of a full installation of TKW and exists within a separate folder in the contrib directory. But as a minimum, the following must be checked within the TKW installer. Within the config ITK Autotest, within the contrib, the test messages on which Autotest Manager relies, and Autotest Manager itself. The TKW Autotest is installed into TKW Autotest Manager directory, which is underneath TKW config. It's got the following elements. It's got an Autotest directory, which contains test evidence from each of the runs performed by Autotest Manager. It has the Autotest logs directory, which is used for logs which are created when Autotest test runs are executed. We have the transforms directory. This contains XSLT transforms which are used to manipulate test messages during the Autotest software execution. We have the TSTP directory. This contains Autotest script template files. These are files which programmatically describe the individual test cases which are defined in the Supplier Certified Requirements Coverage document, the spreadsheet. They're built up into TST files which are stored in the TST directory. Now this contains Autotest script files which are merged instructions for the execution of complete Autotest runs. The files allow TKW Autotest to be executed from a saved set of test cases, which means that TKW Autotest runs can be re-executed without their particular test case selection being remade through the front end. Also within this directory we have the Autotest Certified Requirements Coverage spreadsheet, as mentioned earlier. This is a copy of the document available to all suppliers as a record of the requirements which must be covered for ITK accreditation. It's very important this document must not be moved or altered, as it's used programmatically by the TKW Autotest Manager. We have the Autotest Guide and the TKW Autotest Manager properties. But the important one, of course, is the TKW Autotest Manager.jar. When we double click this, we execute TKW Autotest Manager. TKW Autotest Manager opens in the Configuration tab and has directory locations for Requirements file, the TKW Properties file. There is also the From URL and To URL for the Autotest Manager messaging, the latter of which must contain a context path. There is also the checkbox for generating negative ADT test messages either in XML or pipe and hat. The Run Test tab allows the selection of test cases in order to create a test run. Autotest executions are called test runs, and they're composed of one or more individual test cases. There's the macro filtering at the top. Currently there is only one selectable transport type, and that's web services. The selected domains shows the domain selected and allows the choice via a radio button of using synchronous or asynchronous messaging. This is only applicable to ADT pattern 1, however. All the others use synchronous messaging. Only one domain can be selected per test run. The selected bundles, one or more of these can be selected, and this can be done using the Shift or the Control key. The application type under test is the application type of the system under test. The selection can be made from this list. If your system is an application host, you should select application host, and so forth. The test case selection table displays the results of the macro filtering of the test cases by domain and bundle as described above. Each row displayed relates to one test case and is directly related to the Test Cases Index tab in the Supplier Certified Requirements Coverage spreadsheet. These can be cross-referenced to the spreadsheet by using the Test Cases subsection, Test Case ID and Test Condition. A tooltip will appear when the mouse pointer is hovered over the Test Condition entry, which will display the full test condition description from the spreadsheet. One or more of these test cases can be selected using this column. And then the test run can be executed by pressing the Run Test button. When the Run Test button is pressed, the selected Autotest run is executed. A new window appears. This is the collected output from the instance or instances of TKW which have been executed in order to process a test run. It's color coded with information appearing in black and error warning messages appearing in red. Depending on the volume of tests performed, this may take some time to complete. However, when this block of text is displayed, the execution is successfully completed. After a successful test run, a test results log hyperlink will appear below the test case selection table. The report that's opened shows when it was run, a summary of tests run and passed, a link to the validation report, and a table of results with a green or red pass or fail status. Clicking on any of these will open the message which was sent during the test. Click on the validation report, opens a report of the validation of each of these messages with a similar timestamp, summary and table of results, color coded green and red for pass and fail. All of the results are stored within the Autotest directory under Autotests. One folder for each message sent and received, with the validation report and the test log as shown before.